Now, how does a seat in the House of Lords sound? A little far-fetched for most of us, perhaps, but one of our peers is planning to do some talent spotting in the East Midlands. Our region has the lowest representation of any in the House of Lords. John Hess, or Lord Hess of Bridgeford, as he's known round here, reports.
The House of Lords has never claimed to truly represent the people. That, after all, is the job of the directly elected House of Commons. But should our second lawmaking chamber be more representative of the nations and regions of the UK, and with only 2% of working peers from the East Midlands, are we losing out? And what should be done about it? I'm about to meet Baroness Sandy Verma of Leicester. She's just one of the handful of peers in the House of Lords from the East Midlands. How are you?
John, lovely to meet you. Come on, take a seat. I do think that we mustn't let the discussion go down the road of, well, we need to have a certain percentage of peers coming from particular regions. What we do in the House here is actually scrutinise legislation for across the country.
Brought up and educated in Leicester, she was raised to the peerage, as they say around here, 8 years ago. She's now a junior minister in the Department for Energy and Climate Change. She's a Conservative.
What we have in the Midlands, I'm afraid, is that we ourselves are not very good at showcasing those people that should really be nominated for the House.
So how would you reform the House of Lords?
If we do have people that we believe rightly should come and sit in the House from the Midlands, then I think that we need to be able to talent spot ourselves.
So do you think that regional representation in this place actually matters?
We have elected members who, if they're doing their jobs right, will be the voices for those constituencies in those regions. And I think our job in this House is then to look at the legislation in the round, to scrutinise it in the round, and to ensure that the concerns raised by elected members are reflected in how that legislation is formulated.
This Baroness wants more voices from the East Midlands to be heard in the Lords. But how to achieve that, she says, is the dilemma.
It certainly is, because those figures are really quite stark, aren't they? Of the 430 working peers, only 2% are from the East Midlands. The figure's double that for the West Midlands, 20% for the South East. Does it matter, Mark?
Yeah, I think it matters a lot, frankly. I think we need to be represented in both chambers, and I wasn't aware, actually, that we were so poorly represented. I mean, we've got some good ones. You know, we've got some good lords and baronesses there, but obviously we need more, and I think both political parties need to address that.
Does it matter, Chris?
I think it does, yeah. I mean, I think, you know, there has been an accusation levelled at policymakers that it's very London-centric. And when you consider the fact that nearly half of the peers come from Greater London and the South East, it's little wonder that you know, is a problem. So, yeah, I do think
26% for London, apparently.
Well, 26% and then 20-odd% for the South East. So, as I say, nearly 50% from the exactly. So, I do think it would help. It wouldn't be a panacea, but I do think it is important that you do have proper representation. I mean, Labour did make some fundamental changes to the House of Lords when we got rid of most of the hereditary peers, and we had a commitment in the last general election manifesto, to have a referendum on having an elected second chamber. But short of that happening, I think there does need to be something done to address that. Because one of the problems, I mean, David Cameron keeps going about the price of politics, but he's actually elevated 160 new peers into the House of Lords at a cost of in excess of £16 million. So there is a real challenge there.
OK, well, Tony Benn did say that the House of Lords was the British Outer Mongolia for retired politicians. Now, you'd expect him to say something like that, I guess. But did he have a point, Tony Benn?
No, I think actually it's a really useful chamber where experienced people can pass judgment and can contribute to legislation as it passes through the House. And, I think we do need more representation from the East Midlands so they understand East Midlands type issues.
Well, how do we get more people from the East Midlands if you agree that there needs to be better representation? How do you do that?
Well, it's a matter really, I think, for the parties if we're going to continue with this system of appointing peers. But there is a challenge. I mean, the House of Lords has already got several hundred more than there are actually seats in the House of Lords for them to sit on. And obviously it's very costly.
Do we really
I think maybe
need
we
it,
need a
though?
fundamental...
Are they not just there to rubber stamp things?
No, I think
a lot of
actually
people think they are.
They can be enormously frustrating if you're a member of the House of Commons, but actually they do a really important role in scrutinising legislation as it goes forward. And without, as I mentioned about Tony Benn, you know, you can be a signpost without being a weather vane, and I think that's a really important role. And maybe I should nominate Chris when he loses his seat next May.
Oh, there's a thought. How would you feel about that, Chris?
Going into the House of Lords?
Yes.
I don't think it's likely.
Really? Ever?
I think it's pretty unlikely. I'm not.
Would you turn it down?
I'm not a fan of the patronage that actually is afforded to party leaders and
Really?
at the moment to.
What about Lord
appoint
Mark
people.
of Sherwood? It has a sort of ring to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, I don't know. Fry Tuck maybe or something like that.
Friar
Tuck,
Tuck? You wouldn't really call yourself that, would you?
I've not really given it that much thought.
Alan Fisher, who was the leader of NUPE, said he would never take a seat in the House of Lords, but he did toy with the idea of taking the name Lord Winter of Discontent.
Ah, very good. We'll leave it there.